All right, we are on. Good evening. Welcome to the Joint Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Commissioners meeting of November the 1st, 2022. I am Briggs Simmons, the Planning and Zoning Chair. Prior to this meeting, announcements were posted and notices were sent to all board members, commissioners, staff, interested parties, and applicants who participate in this meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, Board Chair, to introduce and confirm the presence of our commissioners. Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons, and good evening, Douglas County citizens, and also thank you, Board of Commissioners and our Planning and Zoning Board members tonight for being here. I'm Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, the Chairwoman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, and to my right is our Vice Chairman and District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson. And to Commissioner Robinson's right is Commissioner Ann Jones-Guider of District 4. Commissioner, District 4, raise your hand, Commissioner, so they can see you. Yeah, there you go. And District 3, Commissioner Terenia Carthen. Commissioner Carthen, thank you so much. And District 1, Commissioner Henry Mitchell III is here as well. Board of Commissioners, we do have an established quorum tonight, and I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll now turn it over to Allison Duncan, our Planning and Zoning Manager, who will introduce the county staff and Planning and Zoning staff president in our meeting. Ms. Duncan.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have with us Deputy County Manager Fred Perry, Assistant County Manager Tiffany Stewart Stanley, County Attorney Michael Coleman, Director of Development Services James Worthington, Director of the Department of Transportation Miguel Valentin, Deputy Director of the Transportation Department Suleiman Rana. We have our Senior Zoning Administrator Phil Schaefer, Senior Planner Jaquel Johnson, Planning and Zoning Board Clerk Johanna Womack, Secretary of the Planning and Zoning Department Kim Waters. I'd also like to thank Chief Technology Officer Alex Betancourt for being here, and I would always like to thank our communication staff and our Sheriff's Department for being here with us this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, I will introduce the Planning and Zoning staff present in this meeting. If you will raise your hand when I call your name. Okay, there it is. Mr. Rob Thomas, our Vice Chair. Teresa Knowles. Oric Curry. Brandon Penniman. Frank Payne. And Kirk Nicholson. Our Planning and Zoning staff, we have a full staff, and we have a quorum tonight. Okay, our procedures tonight, there's a reversionary clause that applies to each rezoning, and that is the applicant, the agent, or the property owner has 24 months to vest the zoning change after the Board of Commissioners has granted an approval. I will conduct the public hearings on each item tonight. Planning and Zoning staff will announce each application, followed by a full presentation of the application and their recommendations. The applicant or their representative and members of the public in favor of the application will be able to present their information. They will have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes to speak on behalf of an application. Members of the public in opposition to an application will be able to present their information. They also will have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes. After the opposition completes their input or the time has elapsed, the public hearing will be closed. At this point, the staff will clarify any points of the zoning case that the board needs. If the staff is unable to satisfy the board's questions, the board will then ask the applicant for points of clarification. And this is not a time for the applicant to represent their case. Following that, the board will entertain a motion. At this point in time, our first agenda item tonight will be the approval of the minutes of the meeting of October the 4th, 2022, our regular Planning and Zoning and Board of Commissioners meeting. Planning and Zoning Board, you have reviewed the minutes. Does any Planning and Zoning Board member have any comments, changes, or questions? If none, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Frank Payne. I make a motion to approve the minutes from October the 4th, 2022 meeting.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Brendan Penniman, second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor of approving the minutes of the October the 4th, 2022 regular joint planning and zoning Board of Commissioners meeting, please signify by raising your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners with a unanimous approval for the minutes of October the 4th, 2022.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the joint P&Z and BOC minutes for October 4th. Do we have a motion to approve, Board?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, Board. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the minutes being approved tonight, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. There's no opposition. And I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I believe Mr. Schaefer, would you introduce our next agenda item, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, good evening. So this evening, our first agenda item is Special Use Permit S 2022-68, Alice Dumpre. She's asking for an in-home hair salon located at 2803 Warhorse Place in Douglasville, Land Lot 124, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 131. The lot size is about 1.15 acres. Special use permit request. The property is located on the south side of Warhorse Place. The site is a developed property with a single-family residence within the reserve at Enowakie Trail subdivision. The subdivision was approved in 2002 and recorded in Plat Book 28 at pages 85 through 86. This is a map, the zoning map, shows that the property, along with all the surrounding properties, are in fact part of the planned unit development that became the subdivision. This is the plat of the subdivision itself, showing the lot in purple. This is the property itself, along with an aerial of the site, which is at the end of a cul-de-sac. And staff has reviewed the property and the request against the criteria for special use permit, finds that the criteria are met to issue this special use permit. We are recommending approval with the following findings. A, that the use will not modify the land use plan or the intent, purpose, or spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code. And B, that the granting of the special use permit will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. Staff is recommending approval with the following conditions. Number one, that the special use shall be for a home-based hair salon business to be established according to the stipulations and requirements of Section 334 of the UDC, and then any other use of the property not identified within Section 210, uses allowed in each zone district, specifically Table 2.2, principal uses allowed by right, and 2.3, accessory uses allowed by right of the Douglas County Unified Development Code may require the submission, review, and approval of a new special use permit. Number two, client parking must be on premise and no more than one customer at a time is permissible. Customer parking in the public right-of-way is strictly prohibited. And then condition number three, the applicant shall obtain appropriate building permits and business licenses to remodel or modify the home if it's necessary and operate the business. Number four, the special use permit for a home business use are non-transferable and issued to a specific applicant for a specific business on a specific parcel. The special use approval for a home business or a cottage business, maker or micro business, shall expire under the following conditions. A, whenever the applicant ceases to occupy the premise for which the home business was issued, and no subsequent occupant of such premises shall engage in any home business until he shall have been issued a new special use approval. Or B, whenever the holder of such permit fails to exercise the same for a period of 6 consecutive months. And then our directive is to visit with the property at the annual anniversary to verify these conditions have been met, and if not, we can bring them back to you for a show cause hearing. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. At this point in time, I will open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, then make any comments you would like. You will have 2 minutes per person. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing no one move, I will close the public comment in favor and open the public hearing. Anyone opposed to this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes per person for a total allocated time of 15 minutes. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Is the applicant present? Okay. At this point in time, seeing no one approach, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Would you please approach the podium? Is it Dumfries? You heard the presentation by Mr. Schaefer, the conditions that are attached to this. Do you agree with those conditions?
Yes, sir.
You do? Okay, thank you very much. Planning and zoning staff, do you have any questions of the applicant or of staff?
Yes, I have a question of the applicant. Ward Curry. Good. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, when you approach the podium, would you give your name and address for the record, please?
Oh, okay. My name is Alice Dompre, and my property address is 2803 Warhorse Place, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yes, based on the, you requesting this application, you're saying what type of business, again, just to be clear, so we can be clear that you're,
It's a salon.
it's a salon?
Yeah.
You're speaking to the mic.
It's a salon.
Okay. So so where are the customers that you're going to have going to park when they come to visit you at your salon?
Can you say that again?
Parking? Where
They'll park on my driveway.
they'll parking?
It's on an appointment basis, it's not walking.
There's no walk-in, it's just appointment basis only.
So one client at a time,
One client at a time?
yes.
Okay. So with your client, where in the house are you gonna particularly provide the services?
I have a small living room. I have 2 living rooms,
Okay.
a large one and a small one. So I'll be doing it in a small living room. It's just one saloon chair, that's it.
One chair?
Yes.
That's all it's gonna be? And you're gonna be the one to provide the services?
Yes.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Planning and zoning board, any other questions?
I just have a question. What's your hours of operation?
8 a.m. to maybe 7:45 p.m. That's it.
Monday through Friday or weekends?
Monday
as well?
through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Having no questions, Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions at this time for the applicant? Okay, I just have one question for you. I noticed is this specifically for braiding? Is that
No, it's for sister like what I have on my hair.
all types? Okay, I noticed just in the conditions, I saw braiding. I just want to make sure. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming you have all the things. The reason why I'm asking, my mother has an in-home salon in Memphis, so I'm very familiar with the requirements. You know, the state comes out and inspect, make sure you have your licensure and all that. So that is part of your plan? Okay, thank you. No further questions. I yield back to you. We have one question from Vice Chairman. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I tried to get you. No, real quick, thank you for coming out today. I know that this process sometimes can be intimidating or unfamiliar. Simple question, how long have you been doing hair?
5 years.
Okay, very good, 5 years. And have you, 5 years at this establishment, or you're just starting to do it in-house?
just started doing in the house,
I got you.
but not 5 years in the house.
Gotcha.
5 years somewhere else.
Gotcha, no problem, you've got the experience, and as hairdresser, like some of the questions made, you're going to do it in-house and by appointment only in your driveway. I wish you best in your entrepreneurship
Thank you.
venture, thank you. How you doing, Chair?
Okay, thank you so much. Any further questions, board? If not, I'll yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the questions and the answers. Do I have a motion?
This is Brandon Penniman. I make a motion to approve application.
I'm sorry.
Ma'am, open comments are closed for the public at this time. All right. I make a motion to approve application S 2022-68, a request for special use permit to allow an in-home hair salon with the following findings and conditions as presented by staff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Rob Thomas, I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Schaefer. The applicant stated that she would be doing all types of hair, whereas your conditions specify hair braiding.
In-home hair salon was the motion.
So do we need to change the condition?
As long as the motion was understood that it's a home hair salon
So they're
in
not-
all its entirety, that's fine.
Bless you.
So I don't know, I'm just confused as to why your condition specified braiding.
Typo,
Say it again?
typo.
Oh, typo. Okay, so I'm just concerned now as to what type service she will be providing. Will she be needing a sink? Will she be needing that type?
For an in-home hair salon, I assume. But that'll be covered by the health department as well, if she does.
Yeah, the health department.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion to approve S 2022-68. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'll throw it over to the Board of Commissioners. S 2022-68 is approved by Planning and Zoning.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I motion for Board of Commissioners to approve S 2022-68 with the conditions as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board?
Yes.
Okay, you have the floor.
Yeah, just for point of clarity, I want to, for the record again, Phil, can you say that again? It was a typo, but it does not, I mean, I'm thinking about hair, and I think about extension. I'm not trying to go outside my lane, but to the point that was made earlier, I got to wash my hair, do my hair to do extension. So is the condition true? And that, does it matter? Or are we about to bind and do we need to clean something up? Let's do this now.
The request was for an in-home hair salon,
All right.
not for hair braiding. It was specifically at in-home
Salons, which
hair
means I can
salon.
cover anything.
Cover it, all of that.
All right, I just want to say it,
Yep.
but again, you got a condition, so it ain't going to be like, but you put this condition in. Do I need to strike the condition?
As long as the original motion was for an in-home hair salon, which is what I heard, that's what it's for.
I just need to set it for the record.
Yep.
All right, Madam Chair, I yield.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, board? Okay, and I believe, board, it was made clear that, and I know that the salon will be inspected by Public Health, and also the state of Georgia comes out to inspect, so I'm quite sure that the shampoo bowl and all the things that require sterilization type components are there. I see you shaking your head. Am I getting ahead of myself?
Madam Chair, if we could actually strike the condition, does the condition provide a material change to the overall approval? So I think it is the recommendation of County Attorney that we do strike the condition.
Okay.
If- Do you need to?
The way, apologies, the way the option page was worded is the improper way. It conditioned the approval on the basis of hair braiding, and that limited what could be done. So you're correct that it should be struck as far as the hair braiding piece. It should just be for a home hair salon,
Only for,
the general type, the overall type.
okay, we'll leave it alone. You got it. Okay, Board of Commissioners, okay, Vice Chair, you still have the floor.
You guys are in and out. County Attorney, what position are we taking, yes or no? Because we keep getting this, it's like,
Yeah, give us,
y'all putting us out here.
thank you so much, County Attorney.
I think Mr. Schaefer is correct that the motion speaks for itself, but I would recommend to clear up the confusion later that the condition that's not properly worded be stricken so that it's not confusing later if someone else comes along and they see a condition there and they raise a challenge based on it. I think that's the safe thing to do. And that'd be my recommendation.
Which is to my point, I mean, you have exposure here, so I can foresee something here. So let's just clean this up. Clean it up.
Yeah, that's what I'm recommending, that we strike the offensive term braiding, the incorrect term braiding, and clean it up.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Coleman.
So, Madam Chair, I rescind my motion to approve S-2022-68.
I pick up my second.
Okay.
So staff, can someone give us the language to say beyond the motion, how do we fix the condition? Do we strike the condition that the planning and zoning sent forth to us and just leave it as a salon? I need explicit. Someone. We don't have to take up the condition.
I have the conditions, but it's not the conditions. It's not a condition.
Need to keep on.
So in condition number 1, we had stated the special use shall be for a home-based hair braiding salon. It should read, the special use shall be for a home-based salon business in condition number 1. And so that the condition will read, special use, number 1, condition shall be for a special use for a home-based hair salon business to be established according to the stipulations and requirements of Section 334 of the UDC, and any other use of the property not identified within Section 210, uses allowed in each zoning district, specifically Table 2.2, principal uses allowed by right, and 2.3, accessory uses allowed by right of the Douglas County Unified Development Code may require submission, review, and approval of a new special use permit. And all the remaining conditions can remain the same.
You still have the floor, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve S-2022-68 based on the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Board with the amended conditions as just read into record.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Board. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to approve S-2022-68, and the motion passes. I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. We wish you the best of luck on your salon there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
I
luck.
believe our next agenda item, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good
The next
evening.
agenda item is S-202269. The applicant is William and Pamela Collins for a special use permit. The request for the special use permit is to allow a metal accessory structure located at 3000 Old Douglasville Road, Lithia Springs, zip code 30122. It is currently zoned RLD, residential low density. The property is located on the west side of Old Douglasville Road. The parcel is a developed single-family residency with an existing metal siding accessory structure. before you have on the zoning map, RLD. This is an aerial image of the property. It is 1.412 acres. This is a survey. And this is the concept plan for the metal accessory structure. And based on the analysis done by staff, we have concluded that staff does not recommend we request denial for the special use permit based on section 307 of the Douglas County UDC regulations, single-family residency building exterior guidelines. Approved metal materials include brick, stone, solid wood, glass, or cementitious siding, including fiber cement, board, stucco, and imitation brick or stone. The same section specifies that accessory building must match the finished material of the principal dwelling. Any deviations from the approved material can be approved by either a special use permit issued by the Board of Commissioners or administrative variance granted by the director in circumstances where he determines that the building will not be seen from the public right-of-way or adjacent properties at any time during the year. If the board is so inclined to approve the request, staff recommends 2 conditions. The first condition is the applicant must obtain all required permits and pass all required inspections for the accessory building within 1 year of the date of this hearing. And the second is not on your option page. The applicant shall install a suitable landscape buffer approved by the county arborist that will minimize the visual impact to adjacent properties within 1 year of the date of this hearing. That will conclude my presentation. We will now take any questions. I believe the applicant is here as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. Anyone, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, wishing to speak in favor of this application, please step to the podium. You would state your name and address for the record, and then you would have 2 minutes per person for up to 15 minutes allocated.
Hello, everyone. My name is William Collins. I'm the applicant. My address is 3000 Old Douglasville Road, Lithia Springs, Georgia. I was just looking for a garage for me and my boys to work in. I didn't realize that, I didn't really go about it right at first. I didn't, I guess, ask enough questions and seek the permissions I was supposed to get to start this thing off. But I didn't realize metal was such an issue. For the longest time, when we were talking about the facade had to match the house, the siding on the structure actually runs the same way as the siding on my home. It's painted the same color, trimmed in white like my home. So I was thinking aesthetically it had to match, but I realized later on that it was actually the same material. So, I put it in the back. You can't stand in front of my house and see it. I do have almost an acre and a half. My neighbor that I guess could see the most of it actually is here. She volunteered to come and speak on my behalf. I would ask that, I realize that I probably started off wrong with this whole deal, but I would ask for maybe some mercy and grace in the part that we did try to make it right. We've been wanting to make it right for the last 5 months. Once we realized what our situation was, this is no excuse, but I know you guys don't want metal buildings. I see these things everywhere. Some of them are in people's front yards. So, and I'll say this in case you guys aren't aware. When you buy these buildings, I'd be willing to bet that, and I bought this building in Douglas County, down the road from my house. I'd be willing to say that no one knows that they're just not allowed. If you seek a permit, you're not going to be able to get one because it's just not allowed. So I would hope that you guys would understand where I'm at. And I guess now
Okay.
Cole, do you want to come up? Okay. This is my neighbor to my left, which I guess she can see the most of it.
Okay, Mr. Collins, before you leave.
Yes, sir.
I know the request from the planning and zoning staff was to deny this, but
Yes, sir.
there's also an option to approve it with the two conditions that Mr. Johnson read.
Yes, sir.
If it is requested to approve, do you agree with those two conditions?
Absolutely, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, if you'd approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, you would also have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. My name is Cole Black, and my address is 4045 Old Douglasville Road. The numbers don't coincide all the way down the road, so it sounds like we're way down the road, but we're right next door. The building that Rusty's talking about, he actually bought the property from my husband and I, of where the building is the back part of his house. I can see his building from my balcony and from the left side of my home. And when I look at that building, I don't just see a building. Rusty's dad and Rusty and Pam and their 3 boys, it's a generational thing. The granddaddy passed the knowledge of working on cars to Rusty, and Rusty's now passing it on to his boys, and he wants to do it in that building where it'll be safe and dry. And so I am all in favor of the building. I have no objection. It's not an eyesore at all. It matches his home, and actually it looks like there is a space between his home and the building. But even though it's a metal building, it looks like it's an extension of his home. So he has no complaints from me, and I would highly recommend that y'all let the legacy that started go on with these boys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes, sir.
My name is Bo Hill. I live across the street, and I can't even see the building. So, there's no problem. I mean, can't even tell the building's back there, really. So, I think it's, it ain't no eyesore, like she said. So, I figure, why not? It looks good to me.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one moving at this point in time, I will close the public hearing in favor and open the public hearing in opposition. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Seeing no one moving, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the statements, answers to the questions. Do you have any questions of staff or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, it's Kurt Nicholson. I have a couple of questions of staff to start with, please.
Oh.
Would you mind pulling back up the picture you have of this building? Don't we have one on record somewhere that's...
Oh, okay.
Do you actually have a photo of the building itself?
I do not. This is a,
Sorry, it's not allowed. No, it's not allowed, so that's fine. All right, so in that case, I need to go to the applicant, if you don't mind. Thank you, sir. Mr. Collins, what's your line of work? Could I ask that, please?
I'm a plant manager for
Okay.
House of Cheatham.
All right, so you went out and sought out a contractor to come out and build this on your site? And I assume you have no building experience whatsoever, is that correct, or is that a fair
Oh,
assumption?
I didn't build the building. The company that you buy the buildings from, they erect them.
Right, and they didn't tell you needed a permit or anything?
No, what they say is if there's any permits required, that's up to you, that's on you. And like I stated when I was up here the first time, you know, I didn't realize what a big deal it was to start with. But I mean, I found out as time went on that it wasn't what I thought it was. And, you know, had they told me any permits that might be, you know, if you need any, that could be your responsibility. But if you go to get one, they're not allowed in Douglas County, well, I would have walked out. That's not what happens. And ever since, you know, I realized what was going on, we came to, I tried to get a permit to have electrical put in. Realized then that I couldn't get that because I didn't have a permit to erect it in the first place, and then realized where I was. And we've been trying to make it right since then. We went through all the steps of making sure that everything's okay with it, other than it has metal on the side. So yeah, I'm not standing before you and trying to say that, you know, I did everything right. The only thing that I can say is that I came forward and tried. I'm trying to make it right.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, that answered the question. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning Board, of staff or the applicant?
I have a question, Mr. Collins. You said you tried to make it right over the past few months.
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about the steps you took?
Okay. We were told, we went to the permit office, and we were told that, you know, first thing that's going to have to happen is going to have environmental come out. So we paid that fee. We had environmental come out. All of that was okay. We thought that we were okay after that. We found out a little bit later that we were going to have the concrete checked out. So we hired an engineer and had them come out, and they checked out the concrete, did a report, submitted that to the office, and we thought, okay, you know, we may be getting somewhere now. Then we realized that the metal wasn't allowed. And I remember when I was talking, I think I was talking to Allison that day, they spent a lot of time talking to me and my wife on the phone and in person. But I said, what do you mean it's not allowed? And she said, what kind of siding's on your house? And I told her, and she said, well, it's got to be that. And I said, well, you know, when I was told the facade's got to match, I'm thinking aesthetically it's got to match, not actual material. So then I was told to hang on, that they were going to, I guess, speak with you guys about allowing alternate sidings. That was supposed to happen right after Labor Day. So we waited 4 more weeks on that. That happened. That didn't pass. And so then we were told, you'll have to, you know, pay $1,150, get the special use, and then come to the hearing. So here I am. So that's kind of what we've been doing with it. It's just sitting there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. I want a follow-up question. The 2 conditions that were stated.
Yes, sir.
Which one would you, if it's approved, which one of those conditions, the landscaping buffer is one of the conditions, and also in changing the facade itself to a different material, which are you have a preference of either one, or what is it that you're think you're going to do to rectify it?
To be honest with you, I hadn't got that far in my mind because I was just hoping that you guys would allow me to have it. I guess if I had to say, it would be easier to hide it with landscaping. I don't know what that involves because I know the county arborist will have to work with me, and it's kind of in the woods anyway, so the only side I would really have to cover would be the side that faces Cole's house. I would think if I changed the siding, then it wouldn't be an issue anymore. It would be just another structure. I may be thinking of that wrong, but
Sorry to interrupt. Mr. Johnson clarified. We're not asking, you approved it, we're not asking you to change it.
Oh, yeah, can you clarify that? Thank you.
So if it is approved, the first condition is the applicant must acquire all permits and pass all required inspections. And the second is find a suitable buffer landscape approved by the county arborist that will minimize the visual impact to adjacent properties within 1 year of the date of this hearing.
Okay, so changing facade or anything is not even an option at this point. It's just strictly covered up, cypress trees or something like that kind of cover it up.
Yes, to minimize the visual impact.
So are you clear with that? Like I said, I know you said you didn't see it this far as to
I
remedy.
didn't realize I didn't know I was going to be given a choice, I guess is what I should have said.
Never
It's
a
not a choice.
Sorry to be in the middle of
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
He needs to get his permits, right? So
Right,
that is the thing
yeah.
that hasn't happened, right? The first condition is to say he needs to get his permits,
Mm-hmm.
because right now he doesn't have the permits for the building. And the second is just to say, if you were inclined to approve it tonight with the metal siding, the building is there, we recognize that. Leave the building there, get the permits, and then just put some buffering and some screening, some vegetation per the specifications of the county arborist. But we would not have the expectation, if you were inclined to approve it, that he makes any kind of material changes to the facade of the building. So, is that clarified?
I'll clarify.
Apologies if we were
Because I knew one of those
confusing on
conditions
that.
wasn't even on here. That's why I was kind of go by
Yes.
memory. Okay.
Sorry about that. So, thank you.
It's two conditions, not two options.
Okay, there you go.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning Board?
I guess I have a question for you, Mr. Collins.
Yes, ma'am.
The permits that you came to the county seeking, was that an electrical permit or a plumbing permit?
It
What-
was an electrical, there's no water.
So you came for an electrical permit, and
Yes.
that's when you found out that the metal exterior was not allowed in Douglas County, right?
Down the line a little bit from there, I realized it, yes, ma'am.
So that's the only permits now that you have to seek is electrical, and what are your other permits that you'll
Well,
have to?
I mean, I need to have power run to it. I mean,
Right.
that's what I need. I'm not sure.
So he'll need a building permit for the building, and then some of the other inspections Mr. Collins indicated, I believe he's already performed, so the environmental, I believe you've had environmental health out there to confirm that the building was not placed on the septic tank or the drain field, and then the slab, to confirm that. So there are some things that I believe he has done towards getting that building permit. Had he done that in the first place, as Mr. Collins had acknowledged, right, then he could have done that in order, and those inspections could have taken place, right? But because it was put up without the permit, the inspections that he would have needed for the building permit hadn't taken place. And so I think he'll need the building permit and then any of his trade permits. So if he's not, doing, HVAC, plumbing, those kinds of things, he won't need that. But the principal one we're concerned with is the building permit and then the electrical, if he needs that, and any other trade permits.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing no other question. Somebody have something?
Oh, no, just clear my throat.
Okay, hearing none. Mr. Collins, you can sit down right now momentarily unless the county commission has a question. Madam Chairman, I'll throw it over to the county commission for any questions they may have of Mr. Collins or the staff.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
If you would, please, the applicant. Just a couple of questions. So this particular, I'm gonna call it a bay or how many cars will you be able to work on and help your youngsters kind of become mechanics? I guess that's the whole premise of this, I guess.
The inside, the enclosed inside of the building is less than 1,000 square feet, so I mean, you could get a couple of cars in there, I guess.
Got it. Okay.
It's not for a business or anything like that, it's just for us.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you're not trying to go into car repairs and help all of us and the neighbors to kind of come down and bring in a car?
No.
Okay, just asking. I just looking for a great mechanic. The other question, the other question. So will this unit feed that septic tank that we already have? And this may be for staff. It will or will not, meaning there. I'm just curious to note that, is there a need for an additional larger, smaller, whatever septic tank? So.
There's no plumbing in the building.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not running water to it. It's just power. It's just a garage.
Okay. So there's no true, I mean, so with the runoff from the EPS and, EPA rather, we're covered on that end, I guess. Alice, are we good on that? Because where is it sitting now, proposed at least?
So if your question was specifically about the environmental health permit, the
Yes.
reason he had to go through environmental health and get the permit is to make sure that he didn't put the building in a place that would impact the septic tank.
Right.
Normally, when you pull a building permit, for an accessory building, you start with planning and zoning, they start your permit, they certify that it meets the requirements of planning and zoning, and then they send you to the environmental health department.
Mm-hmm.
They take a look at what you're wanting to do, where you're putting it on the property, right? And then they tell you whether they need to come out for an inspection. Because those steps were sort of skipped in that process here that we're discussing tonight, he had to go back and redo that, and environmental health, I believe, has certified that the location of the building is okay on the property. So we don't have any concerns about where it's placed and if it impacts the existing septic tank. And as Mr. Collins has said, he doesn't intend to connect it to plumbing, to water.
Right.
So there wouldn't be any effluent going down the pipes into the septic.
But he will have to go back and get some form of, because he talked about power or something, that he might need some kind of electrical.
Yes, sir, that's correct. He will need electrical permit.
Right, so he'll have to go back and do that.
He'll have to do his building permit and his electrical permit, yes, sir,
Correct.
if
Okay.
approved. Mhm.
Got it.
Yes, sir.
Got it. And last but not least, and I guess for the applicant, maybe your neighbors are saying that they're okay with this, but everything will be inside versus outside, meaning what I think some of us probably don't want to see is it become what I call a junkyard, where you've got cars on bricks and everything else. I know that's not where you're going, correct?
No, sir. My wife there would not allow that.
Thank you.
And I've spent so many years, doing things like this outside and on the ground, that I have no intention of being outside ever again if I can help it. So.
Okay. And good luck with the kids and making sure they understand this and passing this thing on from generation to generation. So good luck on that end, okay?
Thank you.
And last, you are okay with the conditions stated here of doing with those conditions and the findings that they got here?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm at your mercy. I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, it's true. I did what I did, and now I need some grace, and so I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to move on from this.
Understood. Thank you again, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
And I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or remarks, board? Okay, being none, board, I yield the floor back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Mr. Collins, you can sit down there for a moment. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion. You have heard the recommendations. Do I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is Teresa Knowles. I make a motion to approve S 2022-69 with the conditions as read by staff.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Payne, I second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, Planning and Zoning Board? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote on the motion to approve S 2022-69 with the conditions as read in. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, I will throw it over to the Board of Commissioners with a unanimous recommendation to approve S 2022-69.
Thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion? That's you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was me. I'd like to make a motion to approve S 2022-69 with the approval with the said findings and conditions as read in by staff.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, Board? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
No, I just for the record, but this is an appeal process that's going on right now. It was a recommendation for decline by staff. It's going to planning and zoning. They've asked questions. And I want to make sure I understand this is a violation of our code, and we're showing an exemption. And I want to make sure I heard it, is that there's others that are out there doing it. Why don't you just change the code? And I'm listening. This is just for the record. That we're creating, it's like, okay, no, why are we doing it that way? Change the code. If they exist, it's like we're blinking our eyes to truth. If they're out there, they're being allowed, to this point, you're making him go through this, but everybody else sort of jack their way through. And you're allowing it. So to you, I give that moment here where that's merciful. Because the system is pretty much, again, I don't have any facts, I'm just listening to what was admitted in here in front of all of us, that it was allowed, that they're out there with things just like you. And y'all ain't doing nothing about it. He coming here trying to be by the right hand and do righteous. You gonna charge him, take his fees, make him go through all this, and put conditions on him. Without just, why don't you just change the code? I made my point, Madam Chair. I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman. Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Okay, Commissioner Carthen, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Staff, I thank you for allowing us to vote on this separately, although you did bring it before us a month or two ago. This was, and I think some of the Board of Commissioners has forgotten, and even maybe some of Planning and Zoning, but this topic was a long topic of discussion, and the board decided against metal buildings. And so I applaud the family for coming here tonight to state your case, because you're right, there are a lot before you. This board had a chance to rectify that and update the code, and we chose not to. And I am hurt, that's why I haven't said much today, that you would even have to come here for this. This should have already been taken care of in that prior meeting. But to that point, I hope this board now will listen more closely to staff as they bring forth things for us to consider, because what we have before us tonight is an actual example of when we say no, what can happen. And with that, Madam Chair, I yield.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Any other discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Board, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 3-2 vote, and the motion carries to approve S 2022-69. All right, thank you, congratulations. I yield back the floor to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Ms. Collins, we wish you the best going ahead. Mr. Schaefer, would you please present our next agenda item, please?
Mr. Chairman, our next agenda item is Z 2022-70, Stratos Properties LLC. The request is for a rezoning from CGC, General Commercial with Conditions, to RMD, Residential Medium Density, and to remove the property from the environmental overlay for a residential subdivision located at 4291 Highway 5, Douglasville, 30135, in Land Lot 69, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 11. The property is approximately 18 acres. The property is located on the west side of Highway 5 and is within the Highway Corridor Overlay District, and then therefore subject to the requirements of the Section 4.23, the OHC Highway Corridor Overlay Standards. The property was previously zoned to general commercial with conditions in 1989 under Z 1989-78 in anticipation of future commercial development, which never materialized. The conditions placed on the property in 1989 reserved the property fronting on Mason Creek Road for residential development and imposed a buffer against any future commercial development against that residential. The property has not been used for commercial development since it was rezoned. There was a small residential structure on the property, was demolished in 2020, and you've heard this property previously reviewed under Z 2021-50 and Z 2021-61 for similar 40-plus lot design, accessing the property either from just Greenfield, which is into the subdivision behind, or Highway 5 and Greenfield, or just Highway 5. Those requests were obviously not approved, and the applicant is coming back to request the 46 single-family residential lots. This is the picture for zoning. This is the map that shows it is CGC currently. The surrounding properties are residential low density to the west, north, and south, and there's some minor commercial development on the east side. Property overview here for an aerial of the site, and this is looking into the site from Highway 5. This is looking down Greenfield Drive from the subdivision to the rear of the property, and here's another shot looking up to the north along Greenfield Drive with the property off to the right. This is a concept plan for the site development. Again, 46 lots over 18 acres. It's approximately 2.53 lots per acre. The trip generation for the subdivision, 46 units, total of 217 vehicle trips per day. Staff has reviewed the zoning request against the criteria and finds that it does meet the criteria for rezoning the property. And as far as the recommendation for the Watershed Protection Overlay District, we have discussed this with the WSA, and the WSA is recommending that we move this property from the Dog River Basin into the Bear Creek Basin on the basis of topography and geology of the site. The site actually drains into Bear Creek, basis of topography. And so the recommendation was to approve that piece of this. And the staff is also recommending approval for the rezoning to residential medium density with the following findings. The rezoning is consistent with the Douglas County Comprehensive Plan and the intent, purpose, and spirit of the Douglas County Unified Development Code, and a negative impact to surrounding properties will not result from the rezoning, and the granting of the rezoning will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare and represents best planning practices. Staff is recommending a number of conditions. Number one, the applicant shall submit to the Development Review Committee for review and consideration the site-specific development and access management plans to address the development standards in the UDC and the concerns and requirements expressed in the specific agency impact statements reviewed by staff report dated November 3rd, 2022, including the following specific, among others required by the UDC. Number two, provide additional right-of-way along the entire property frontage of Highway 5 equal to 1/2 of a 120-foot right-of-way to comply with the minimum right-of-way width along a major arterial roadway with GDOT approval. Number three, provide curb and gutter with appropriate drainage structures along the entire property frontage of Highway 5 with GDOT approval. Number four, provide a northbound left turn lane on Highway 5 into the subdivision at the proposed entrance to comply with the UDC code for a left turn lane on a major arterial roadway. Number five, provide a right turn deceleration lane on Highway 5 at the proposed entrance. Number six, install a 5-foot wide sidewalk with a 4-foot sodded median along the entire property frontage of Highway 5 at a location selected by GDOT. 7, provide streetlights along the entire property frontage of Highway 5. Number 8, provide 5-foot sidewalks with 4-foot sodded median along both sides of all proposed internal streets. Number 9, all internal roadways shall be 24-foot asphalt and a 28-foot back of curb to back of curb measurement. Number 10, provide a dedicated 10-foot wide pedestrian access from Greenfield Drive to Cloudland Court Cloudland Court being the internal road proposed for this subdivision, Greenfield being the road within the subdivision to the rear. Number 11, a copy of the approved GDOT work permit is required prior to plan approval. And that is the last of our conditions requested. Mr. Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schaefer. At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application, including the applicant or the applicant's representative, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes for a total allocated time of 15 minutes. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Mrs. Chairman, and commissioners and planning commission members as well. My name is Johnny Blankenship. I live at 1830 Maple Street in Carrollton, Georgia. I'm a member of the development and build team for this project, and as Mr. Schaefer, your staff member, has stated, they have recommended approval of this rezoning request. With me tonight are members of ownership and other members of the build and develop team for this project. We will do our best to answer any and all questions you may have regarding this project, and we respectfully request your approval this evening. Thank you.
Okay, before you leave, you've heard the conditions read in. If this is approved, do you agree with the conditions?
We were fine with all of them, Mr. Chairman, except for condition number 10, providing the 10-foot wide pedestrian access from Greenfield to Cloudland. We were under the impression that the folks in the community over on Greenfield did not want anything to do with our proposed project here. So we were like to, I guess, make that one a, how'd you say it, Mr. Schaefer, on what? Just strike it if we can, yeah. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, yes, all are acceptable.
Okay. Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Blankenship. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application, please approach the podium. Seeing no one moving at this point in time, I will close the public hearing in favor of this application and open the public hearing for anyone opposed. Anyone opposed to this application, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes per person. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. My name is Koya Perry. I reside at 4195 Greenfield Drive. I am actually in the cul-de-sac that they showed you on the picture. I actually agree with him on condition number 10, I believe it was. We are not interested in any pedestrian breezeway for the new subdivision to come through into our subdivision, so we actually agree on that part. We don't want that condition, and we actually want to make sure that tree line remains and there is a definite separation between our subdivision and the new subdivision that they're building behind. And we absolutely appreciate them now coming in on the Highway 5 side. That was something we were in much discussion about, so we absolutely appreciate that. I think that is it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You would have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Shelley Davis. My address is 4199 Greenfield Drive. I've been a resident of the Field subdivision since 2009. All of the neighbors that live in this area adjacent to where they're planning on building the subdivision were extremely close neighbors. I have a basketball goal that I allow all the neighborhood kids to play right across the street. So it's aesthetically important that we keep the privacy of the tree line just to keep that area private, I feel, for the children. I am definitely in agreement with number 10, so thank you for taking that off. We do not want any, I guess, added foot traffic to that area. We do like to keep that area private and quiet. It actually was a selling point for a lot of the neighbors on that street that purchased homes there where there were no neighbors across the street. And that's something that we still wish to continue. But that's pretty much all I have. As far as the 100 feet, we were originally promised from the sidewalk into the woods that they would be agreeing to not touch the tree lines. And so I want to make sure that conditions could be so that it still remains at 100 feet from sidewalk into the forest area, but that it also goes around to the cul-de-sac area so that there's no aesthetic interruption to the view. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing in opposition. And at this point in time, Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion, the questions, the answers. Do you have any questions of staff or Mr. Blankenship?
Chairman, it's Rob Thomas. I have a question for Mr. Blankenship. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Mr. Thomas.
So you heard the concerns. Did you have a community information meeting? Did you actually reach out to the other subdivision behind this?
Yeah, I'm actually going to point to Mr. Campbell to talk about the first. We had a community meeting. You would like to come up, Mr. Campbell, and introduce yourself? Yeah. This is the owner of the property, Mr. Gil Campbell.
Hey, folks.
Mr. Campbell, please state your name and address for the record
I'm Gil
first.
Campbell. I'm former owner of Van Zandt Campbell Surveying in the county. I was here for 40 years surveying, but I live in Lake Lanier. Got a sore throat, sorry about this. But 7825 Kings Point Drive, Cumming, Georgia.
Yeah, so my question was, you hear the concerns of the people in the back and the other subdivision. Did you have some type of community information meeting, some type of,
We've had three. We had
three.
one originally when we tried to submit it by coming our road off the
Coming the
Greenfield
other way.
Drive. And we had 20, 30, 40 people protest. So we redesigned the subdivision to come off Highway 5 directly across from Pilgrim's Landing. We had people didn't want that road near that road either because it's thought it'd be too much traffic coming in together. So we redesigned it to come over 400 feet away from the existing road that's there. I think it's called Manor Creek. So we moved the road so it wouldn't be conflict of having two roads directly across from each other. And so, yes, we did have 2 or 3 different meetings with the people. The last one with this rezoning submittal, there was no one there. No one showed up to oppose our subdivision.
Okay. So with the concerns that you heard about the tree line
Yes.
buffer, what do you think about that?
On the drawing that you have, we have outlined a 10-foot, no access, no disturb area, all from the right-of-way, 10 feet in to the property that nobody can access, like try to put another driveway in off the back of their house, because all the houses front that. But there's a 10-foot no access buffer area all the way around the cul-de-sac and also all the way down Greenfield Drive.
All right, well, thank you. That's my two questions I had.
I'll stay here if you got any more questions.
Any other questions, Planning and Zoning? Hearing none, I will throw it over to the Board of Commissioners for any questions they may have. Madam Chair?
All right, thank you so much. Chairman Simmons, Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions for the staff or either Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, Commissioner Guido, you have the floor. Guido, yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Could you tell me what size the houses will be and how many bedrooms?
I do know that the county is a 25% impervious area for the zoning of this, because it's in Bear Creek.
Right.
So there will be no bigger than a 2,500-foot print, including the driveways. So I have to turn it over to these guys are the guys that's going to be building the houses once we develop it.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly what size house they are building.
Okay.
But the minimum is 1,800 square feet based on the plan.
Is it going to be the minimum?
No, probably more.
Okay.
I'm happy to address that, Commissioner. Yeah, we will be building the homes. Some of the smallest price leader homes will start out about right at 1,900 square feet and then go up to about 2,450 total square footage on the 2
I'm
stories.
familiar with your company and you build a good home.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So that's good. And I'm glad to see that you've moved the access to the Highway 5. I would ask that our DOT look at having turn lights at that intersection down there at Mason Creek and Highway 5, because traffic does seem to back up there because of someone turning and they can't, people behind them cannot continue to move. So I've been meaning to bring that forth to Miguel, but I'm glad this is going through because, and you've worked well with the community, and that speaks highly of y'all. And so I wish you. Pardon?
We tried to listen to everybody.
Yes. But that used to be in my district, but it's not anymore. It's in District 3 now because of redistricting. But I'm very familiar with that area. And I'm glad that you're not going through the other subdivision and having to go out on Berea Road and go out to Highway 5 at Berea Road because that's one of the worst intersections too. I had the state DOT out here in 2012, and we've done nothing with it. So it's a very bad intersection because of the angle it comes. So, but your road will come straight out to Highway 5.
Perpendicular.
And then you'll have the XL and the DCL
Correct.
lanes and everything. All right, well, I wish you very much success. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Commissioner Carthen, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Mr. Blankenship, I applaud you for listening to us and listening to the constituents who came out the first time. And then I thank you for your phone call. I couldn't call you back because I knew this was coming up, but I thank you for reaching out to me and making sure that, you were doing right by the community. That speaks volumes. You just don't know. Remember, we're all neighbors out here, and so when we treat each other right going in, it makes for a better relationship on the other side of it as well. So I applaud you, and I applaud your company for what you're doing. Thank you for coming to Douglas County and doing the right thing by the citizens, and I wish you much success in this project.
Thank you,
I yield,
Commissioner.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor. Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, thank you. Just one quick question, so I can get the correct buffer that we were doing around the cul-de-sac. Help me to clarify, make sure I understand kind of what was the amount? Because it seemed like I heard a couple of different numbers. I don't know if this is staff or this would be, Allison, I don't know if this is for you guys or I just want to make sure I heard the buffer correct.
So the design plan calls for the normal 10-foot requirement from DOT that no driveways be accessible to the greenfield side. That's normal, so we don't have backyard driveways. There's also a 30-foot building setback line from the property line out to greenfield, so there's an additional 30 feet that they could not build in. The plat does not describe a tree line as a tree save area, which is, I think, what you're asking is there anything designated as an undisturbed buffer?
Correct.
And so that's not been designated on the plat, but there is a 10-foot no access easement around the property, so you could not put a driveway in, and there is a 30-foot required building setback line, so nothing could be built in that first 30 feet either.
Okay. Because it seemed like I heard a couple of different numbers, and I just want to make sure that those numbers are adding up, and they're not adding up. Okay, so is it? Well, help me out so I can. Is it the amount?
They don't want to disturb what they have back there. What they have
Correct.
done is actually help to make sure that nothing can go back there, so none of that would be disturbed.
So they made it better.
They made it where they can't access it.
Okay. I'll take my colleague. I'll just. No. I'll take your advice on that. I believe you. I trust what you're saying. Though the numbers just kind of didn't correlate in my little brain cells. So. Go ahead.
They want it all the way down. They don't want any disturbance.
Okay.
And that's the way it is.
And that's where it is, the way it stops. They won't have any disturbance.
Okay. So that should be a nod now. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Got it. Okay. I think we're good. I just wanted to make sure I heard what I heard, and thank you guys for the clarity. So thank you again, and I'll yield back, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Yeah, let's wrap this. No, wow. Again, I guess we want to echo the sentiments of when I think about development, especially residential, when you have two developments coming side by side, whether it's residential to industrial or residential to residential, the encroachment theory, and I'm listening to this, I'm so glad you guys backed up. To cut through a subdivision is stunning. It's like, woo. But I get it. And part of it is that I understand land, I understand the power of property rights, but also appreciate the community that was, it sounds like you guys got to an equilibrium. All it takes is conversation and real sensitivity on y'all part. You guys did righteous by this, not to destroy that what they had there. They cared. They just want to let it stay as is. Give room for it, and no cut throughs, no walkable cut throughs either. I mean, I'm sitting up here like I'm stunned. I'm like, I'm glad y'all backed off that, because it makes sense the way where you've landed. So I know it took a lot of effort. I know it took some obviously some resources to redesign, to come back, but you stayed at it, and I'm sure Douglas County will be richer by what you bring it, as well as the experience we just went through. Thank you for this. Madam Chair, I yield.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. If there are no other remarks, Board, certainly I'll yield back to you, Chairman Simmons.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Planning and Zoning Board, you have heard the discussion. Do I have a motion, please?
Chairman, this is Rob Thomas. I would like to make a motion to approve application Z 2022-70. Request for rezoning from CGC, general commercial with conditions, to residential mid-density, and to remove the property from the Dog River Environment Overlay and replace it in the Bear Creek Environmental Overlay for residential subdivision with findings and conditions presented by staff, and move to strike condition number 10.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Brandon Penniman, second.
I have a motion and a second. Planning and Zoning Board, do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving Z 2022-70 with the conditions minus condition number 7 as stated, please signify by raising your hand. Number 10. I'm sorry, number 10. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Madam Chairman, I'll throw Z 2022-70 over to the Board of Commissioners with a recommendation for approval with all conditions read in, with the exception of number 10, which has been stricken.
Okay, thank you so much, Chairman Simmons. Board of Commissioners, you've heard all the questions and answers. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve application Z 2022-70 as recommended by the Planning and Zoning team with the conditions as stated and number 10 removed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor, Board. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Board, we have a motion and second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Thank you to approve Z 2022-70. The motion carries. I yield back the floor to you.
Thank you
Chairman
very
Simmons.
much, Madam Chairman. We wish you all the best with this new subdivision. Appreciate it. Having nothing else to come before the Planning and Zoning Board meeting is hereby adjourned. Madam Chairman, I'll throw it back to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, having nothing come before this body, which is the Board of Commissioners, this meeting is adjourned. Good night.